August 1914. Belgium. The sun rose over quiet villages, unaware of the storm about to strike. German and Belgian forces faced off along the Sambre and Meuse rivers. No one expected the scale of what was coming. The collapse would shock the continent. The summer of 1914 brought tension to Europe. Germany, bound by the Schlieffen Plan, prepared to sweep through Belgium to reach France quickly. Belgium, a neutral nation, had fortified its borders, relying on outdated forts and a small standing army. The world underestimated the strategic importance of the Meuse and Sambre regions. Belgian soldiers, numbering only a few 100,000, held rifles and artillery that had seen better days. Officers were trained, disciplined, and determined, but their resources were limited. Villagers watched as troops marched toward the border, little realizing that their towns would become the front lines. The German army advanced in massive columns, equipped with modern rifles, machine guns, and heavy artillery. Their trains brought logistical support that Belgium could scarcely match. Maps were consulted, orders were shouted, and the first skirmishes began near Liège. The Belgian forces fought valiantly. Small forts delayed the Germans, but for every hour gained, the enemy adapted. Early intelligence failures also contributed to Belgium's vulnerability. Communication lines were fragile. Telegraphs and runners carried news slowly. Officers often acted on incomplete information. Despite warnings from French and British observers, some Belgian leaders believed that neutrality might protect them. The hope of avoiding total engagement lingered in their minds. Yet, beneath the surface, fractures appeared. Morale was strong but fragile. Supplies were limited, and reinforcements arrived sporadically. Civilians fled toward safer regions, creating congestion and panic. The German army moved faster than anyone anticipated. Engineers dismantled railways, bridges crumbled under artillery, and towns along the Sambre River prepared for a storm. As the days progressed, Belgian commanders faced impossible choices. Concentrate forces in strongpoints or try to cover the entire border. The options were few. Each decision carried deadly consequences. Meanwhile, reports arrived of German artillery battering villages and forts. Shells rained over fields, destroying crops, homes, and infrastructure. The soldiers held lines as best they could, but their numbers were dwindling. By late August, it became clear that Belgium faced a trial of endurance. Strategic positions were increasingly untenable. Civilians hid in cellars. The faint hope of slowing the German advance remained, but whispers of a collapse began to circulate among officers. No one spoke openly, yet the tension was palpable. The stage was set. A collapse nobody predicted was approaching. August 23rd. The German army pressed forward. Artillery barrages intensified. Belgian forces tried to regroup, moving soldiers from one sector to another. Commanders issued orders, yet confusion reigned. Some units were cut off. Others faced relentless enemy fire. The forts of Namur, intended as Belgium's stronghold, fell under sustained bombardment. Explosions shattered walls. Smoke and debris filled the air. Soldiers braced behind crumbling defenses. Each cannon blast sent tremors through the earth. Communication with the rear became nearly impossible. Key decisions shaped the unfolding catastrophe. Officers debated whether to abandon positions or hold at all costs. Retreat meant abandoning towns and civilians. Hold meant risking annihilation. Orders often arrived too late, arriving through runners who dodged artillery fire. Units were isolated. Soldiers fought with courage, but confusion turned bravery into chaos. The German advance exploited gaps in the lines. cavalry and infantry moved swiftly through unguarded areas. Roads clogged with retreating soldiers and fleeing civilians slowed Belgian movements. Panic grew, even among experienced officers. Command structures strained under pressure. Meanwhile, civilians witnessed horrors that would be etched into memory. Villages burned. Fields were destroyed. Smoke obscured the horizon. Families hid in cellars. The sounds of gunfire and shelling were constant. Belgian soldiers, once confident, now faced exhaustion. Food and ammunition ran low. Morale began to falter. As August 25 arrived, it became clear that the defense was unsustainable. The Germans reached the outskirts of key towns. Belgian forces retreated, leaving behind equipment, wounded men, and shattered forts. The collapse accelerated. Decisions made in previous days magnified the disaster. By August 26, chaos dominated the front lines. Units were scattered. Orders went unheard. Bridges destroyed and retreat hindered movement. Civilians fled in desperation. German forces advanced with shocking efficiency. Resistance remained, but it was fragmented. Belgium's hopes of a coordinated defense were fading rapidly. The unfolding events revealed the limits of strategy and preparation. Despite courage, discipline, and knowledge of terrain, Belgium faced a calamity beyond anticipation. Commanders, soldiers, and civilians were caught in a whirlwind. Every hour brought new losses. Every decision carried consequences that would resonate for decades. August 27. The collapse arrived. Belgian defenses crumbled under relentless German pressure. The forts that had once symbolized resistance were now smoking ruins. Artillery fire reduced walls to rubble. Soldiers, exhausted and low on ammunition, fell back in disorder. The Meuse and Sambre lines were breached. German units poured through gaps. Resistance pockets formed, but were isolated and overwhelmed. Officers shouted orders that were never heard. Chaos reigned. Civilians fled, abandoning towns and farms. Smoke and dust obscured the landscape. The smell of gunpowder and death hung in the air. Casualties mounted. Every engagement carried heavy losses. Fortresses, artillery positions, and machine gun nests were neutralized. Belgian troops fought heroically, but numbers and resources were insufficient. Panic spread. Soldiers ran toward rear lines, often finding no support. Key towns fell. Bridges, roads, and railways were under German control. Retreating Belgian units merged with fleeing civilians. Confusion and fear amplified losses. Communication collapsed entirely. Commanders tried to rally their men, but the structure of the army was breaking down. Amid the chaos, stories emerged of bravery. Small detachments held positions far beyond expectation. Snipers targeted advancing units. Officers sacrificed themselves to buy time. Yet, these acts could not stop the tide. The German advance was overwhelming. By nightfall, Belgium's hopes for immediate resistance were gone. The collapse had happened faster than anyone imagined. Fortresses destroyed. Towns occupied. Soldiers scattered. Civilians displaced. The landscape bore the marks of disaster. The events of these days would soon fade from memory, overshadowed by larger battles in France and beyond. The sheer speed of the collapse shocked the continent. Historians would later question how such a small country faced such devastation in days. Yet, in 1914, the world moved on. The collapse was real. The human toll immense. The echoes of these days were swallowed by the war's broader narrative. Silence fell over the devastated villages. Smoke curled slowly from rooftops. Streets were empty. Windows shattered. Doors hung on broken hinges. The echoes of artillery and gunfire were gone, leaving only wind and distant river sounds. Soldiers were no longer visible. Retreat had scattered them across forests and fields. Some never returned. Civilians had fled or gone into hiding. Families abandoned homes in panic, leaving behind furniture, livestock, and personal belongings. The chaos of August 1914 left an imprint of absence. Ruins marked every town along the Meuse and Sambre rivers. Forts lay in fragments. Walls had collapsed under relentless bombardment. Bridges were broken. Roads were littered with debris and abandoned carts. Smoke from burning villages lingered for days, slowly fading into the gray sky. The landscape was scarred. Every tree, field, and street carried traces of destruction. The names of those who had fought and died began to vanish from memory. Soldiers' faces were remembered by few. Officers' strategies were recorded only in sparse reports. Civilian stories went untold. Letters survived in private collections, but many were lost. Maps and records noted towns and locations but failed to capture the fear, confusion, and collapse. The human cost became invisible. Belgium endured, but this chapter of its history was largely forgotten. The collapse had been swift, brutal, and complete. Time moved forward. Fields slowly recovered. Streets were rebuilt. Yet the emptiness remained. The silence was tangible. Places once full of life were now quiet. The ruins whispered of lives erased. Those who survived seldom spoke. Memory became private, fragmented, and fading. Each passing year washed away the immediacy of the catastrophe. History books would mention the German advance but rarely detailed the chaos and panic that swept through villages. The collapse became a shadow, known but unseen, remembered but not fully acknowledged. The Meuse and Sambre rivers continued their steady flow. Seasons changed. Smoke cleared. New generations played in streets once filled with terror. Markets reopened. Life returned superficially. Yet beneath the surface, the void remained. The weight of absence lingered over towns and forests. The silence was complete. August 1914. Belgium. The collapse nobody predicted. Soldiers, civilians, and towns had vanished into the quiet of history. The echoes of panic, courage, and despair faded, leaving only a void. A story erased from collective memory. A silence in the records. A landscape haunted by absence. In the end, what remained was the stillness. Ruins overgrown. Roads empty. Rivers flowing without witness. The collapse had occurred, and yet, it had been forgotten. Shadows of the past persisted in photographs, letters, and memories of the few who survived. Otherwise, the story was gone. Only emptiness remained. If this story mattered to you, consider subscribing. More forgotten history is coming.